Welcome to There Is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell, and I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I am the owner of Maxwell's fitness programs, and I've been in business since 1994. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the real deal of what really works, and most importantly, why things work. Hence the name, There Is a Method to the Madness. Before I get to today's show, I want to thank Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They are committed to providing the highest level of customer service in home sales. Why don't you give them a shout and figure out what your home is worth? 386-451-2412. Welcome to Wednesday, and today is an exciting day. We have a wonderful guest on the show, Miss Kitty Musante, who is a phenomenal age group runner and one of the best in her age group in the entire country. So we are going to learn some things from her. So stay tuned. Without further ado, I have Kitty with me now, and we're going to talk with her a little bit about her running and her health and fitness. How are you doing today, Kitty?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day.
It is a very beautiful day. It was very nice out. Good temperatures. I know you like the cooler weather.
This might have been the last day of the season, and I enjoyed it.
So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, your running, and all that. We'll start with a little brief introduction.
Well, I'm 68 years old. I've lived here in Central Florida since the late 70s. I did not run in school or in college. I started running after I moved to Florida, just kind of a way to stay in shape. I was never a person that wanted to join an aerobics class or do anything like that. And I worked up to running 2 miles a day, and I thought that was good, and that's how it all started originally.
Where did you move from?
I moved here from Northern Virginia.
Fairfax
County, and also college was in Norfolk, Virginia Beach.
Okay. What brought you to Florida?
My first husband, who I wasn't married to yet, was a surfer, a diehard surfer. And we were in Virginia Beach, which gets too cold in the winter to surf comfortably, and he was originally from the Cocoa Beach area. So we headed on down. We were going to move to St. Augustine. I had dogs. Couldn't find a place to rent. The next surf break was New Smyrna Beach. We pulled in. We got a realtor. She found us a beautiful house on the river, and that was that.
I think this, I know the surfer, I think, owned a surfboard place in New Smyrna at one point.
Still does?
Yes.
Red Dog. It's one of my dogs.
Okay.
One of my Colvins.
That's how that comes from.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I had no idea the name of that surf shop. That's pretty cool.
His name was Ruffian.
That's pretty neat. All right. So you have had quite a lot of accomplishments, which is why I was excited to have you on. You really are one of the area's best runners. If there was a Hall of Fame here in Daytona, there kind of is, but if there was a real Hall of Fame, there'd be you and a couple people in it. So we got a lot of people that listen who are into running and triathlons and things like that. So what are some of your PRs, your personal records from your running events?
Well, I am really bad about dates and times, so I'll generalize on that. I was running at my peak in my 30s. I was running 5Ks in the 17s.
Right.
My 10Ks, 37s. Half marathons, the low 120s. And the marathon, I spent several years chasing that to break 3. I ran a 3 and 27 seconds. I never broke 3.
Now, where was that at? What marathon?
It actually was Space Coast, but a completely different course than what you have now. A very boring course. And I was basically running alone near the front, and I saw the clock, and I saw it tick to 3, and there was nothing I could do. I had actually run a very fast 5K the day before.
Wow.
Whether that helped or hurt, I'm not sure. But that's what happened.
So that was probably in the day, I'm guessing, without GPSs and stuff. So you probably didn't know how close you were.
No GPSs and also no electronic timing.
Right.
So who knows?
Right. Well, that's still a very good accomplishment. So what is your goal coming up? I know you have a big race coming up this weekend. What are some of the big goals you're chasing right now? You said you're 68. I mean, that's the important thing, out there still running and super competitive. What's the big goal coming up?
Yeah, I am. It's a fault to be as competitive as I am. But right now, my goals for the rest of this season is this coming weekend. We have an opportunity of a lifetime. The World Masters Athletics are in Gainesville. First time they've been in the States, as far as I know. Mostly indoor track and field, but they threw us a couple things, a cross-country race and a 10K road race.
Okay.
I'm entered in both. I hope to make the podium, but who knows who's there, because it is a world event and there's several thousand athletes. So we'll just see what happens.
You'll be doing the 5K and the 10K, you said?
It's the cross country is an 8K.
8K.
Yes.
So that's like
5 miles.
5 miles. Okay.
And I will say these are not the distances I like. I'm comfortable with them. I've done plenty of them. I'd rather it was a 5K, and I'd rather the road race was a 5K. But it is what it is. They didn't offer that, so.
So what is your favorite distance to race now? Is it the 5K?
Actually, it's the mile.
The mile, all right. Now, are they having the mile this weekend?
No, they do have track events. I have entered the 1500. I plan on scratching.
Okay.
It's an indoor track, and it's a 200-meter track, which is banked. And I have no experience in that. And there's a lot of jostling that goes on in that. It's a whole different thing with strategy. It also conflicts scheduling-wise with the 10K. I would have to run my semis the night before the 10K and then run my final the same day as the 10K.
So when is the 8K? Is that Saturday?
That's this Sunday.
Sunday. And the 10K
is the following Saturday.
The following Saturday. So this is a whole week.
It's a whole week. And you know, we're representing the United States, and Nike's kind enough to give us uniforms. And so we get to play like we're in the old people's Olympics.
You kind of are. So how many people got chosen by Nike to represent? Was it like 3 per age group? Or?
I don't think they did it that way. You have to be a USATF member if you're running for the US. So you send in your times and you send in your money, and we were accepted. So,
well, that's pretty neat. Now, your husband, is he running as well?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we're the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
He had planned on it. He has a hamstring that's giving him a little bit of problems right now. And obviously his goal is 5 weeks from now, Boston, which will be his 45th Boston. I need to say that.
Yeah, so for the listeners, this is Jim. And he is the guy you read about in the paper every Boston, every April, because this will be his 45th, right?
Ever since 1981.
That is crazy. Like
which happens 40... to be our house address.
Imagine that. That's pretty good. So 45 Bostons in a row. And for those that don't know, you have to qualify for Boston. It's not like anybody can just show up and race 45 times. That is really impressive. So yeah, obviously that's going to...
If he has to skip... this race on Sunday, if he feels better, he'll run the following Saturday. But if he has to not, then he won't.
So he would also be in our Hall of Fame locally, obviously,
yes.
Right? And you guys are just the power running couple. So I know that you have done triathlons in your past. What got you out of those and back into more, say, full-time running?
Well, I'll back up a little bit.
Okay.
When I started running, kind of by accident, a friend of mine had suggested we run the Easter Beach Run. And like I said, I jogged 2 miles. That was it. Because the T-shirts were cute.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What year was this about?
Early 80s.
Yeah, they were nice. I remember those shirts.
Yes, and there was a lot of runners and good runners
it was
come down,
yes.
college runners.
It was very competitive
and we
race.
knew nothing. I was terrified. She was not. She goes, well, I can walk. Well, back in those days, I'm sorry, but nobody walked.
Right.
If you entered a race, you ran.
It was different, yes.
And I thought, but we can't walk. I'll get disqualified. So I took off like just as fast as I could, and I ran it. And I felt good, and I was in the top 10%, and I thought, I had just discovered what I want to do.
That's pretty cool.
That was how I started running. My second race...
So you were successful from the get-go?
Right from the get-go.
Okay.
And so my second race was another 4-miler, the Tomoka 4-miler.
I remember it well.
Halfway through, my foot broke. I had a stress fracture. So I had to start swimming. So that started quite early in my running career.
So you kind of went to swimming as a cross train.
I started swimming with the lifeguards and with a group, and I knew how to swim, but I learned how to swim better. And then one day, a friend of mine, and also some people might remember the late John Boyle, who's put on races. Yep. We're heading to a triathlon in Wet and Wild.
So he was racing. John was.
I don't think he was racing, but he was there with a friend, with Laura Harrington, who I became close to. And I said, I'd like to do that since I can swim now and everyone knows how to ride a bike. So I had an old Nishiki. He brought me a helmet. I jumped into this race. It was a different order. The run was before the bike. I was like in second place after the run. And then I went backwards when it came to the bike.
You were a runner.
I didn't realize you were supposed to keep pedaling. I thought you pedaled and you coasted. What did I know?
Yeah.
On the way home, I remember telling my husband at the time, I need a new bike. I kind of like this. So that's how I started doing triathlons, mainly from being an injured runner.
How long did you stay with it? Was it a long triathlon career or was...
Well, through the mid-'80s, I did Hawaii, the World Championships, 3 years in a row.
The Ironman?
The Ironman.
So you really bumped up the distance.
The Ironman. Yes, because, in those days, you ran marathons.
Right.
You were all about distance. You biked 100 miles. You swam 3 or 4 miles. So I kept up the swimming. I swam with high school teams. I biked only with men because they were faster than me, and that would make me faster. And my running was up to par. So I did Ironman in 1989, 90, and 91. 1989, when I knew nothing, was my best. I ran a 10:30. I was 5th in my division, 25th in the world for women, and it was a thrill. It was an absolute thrill. I will mention in those days we changed clothes between events. So maybe that 10:30 was a little faster than that. That was something. So I went back the next year.
And that's back like when Mark Allen and those guys were racing.
It was
right?
that year.
Wow, yeah, they were the legends.
I don't remember the name of the book, like Duel in the Sun or something.
Yeah, I read
like
it. Yeah, him and Dave Scott.
I saw them. I was still on the way out. They had turned to come back in shoulder to shoulder, and you knew that was going to be a battle.
They were legends
all the way through.
Yeah.
And I ran at that time for Brooks, and so did Scott. So we were teammates. I think they paid him more than they paid me. I only got paid in shoes and clothes.
Dave Scott, you mean?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, he was a top pro. What was his nickname? Mark Allen was the grip, I think, right? But anyway, they were just fun to watch. I mean, That's back when I thought it was the most entertaining. So what got you out of it? What did you transition back to running primarily?
I had a bad bike wreck right before that Ironman. I fractured my pelvis. Didn't want that to happen again. But I didn't really back off for a few years, but it was always on my mind that, you can fall running, but you can really get hurt cycling.
Right. And dangerous with cars.
So into the early 90s, I made a couple teams. I was All-American for several years in what we call the Olympic distance. It's hard to maintain a job and train what required 30 hours a week of hard training.
Very much.
And then I had a daughter in 94, and it just became a bit of a chore to realize I had to go out and do this, and running was my true love.
Right.
So I put the triathlons aside and I went back to running.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like you can just go out your front door with running. You don't have to get your bike and do this. You don't have to put in as much time either. Do you still swim or do any other cross training now?
Don't swim anymore, and that's mostly because I'm probably too lazy to go to the pool and arthritis in the neck and that kind of stuff. I don't bike on the road either.
Right.
But I do stationary bike almost every day after I run. And I just spin. It's nothing, I don't even really consider it exercise. It's with no resistance. I go through my emails. I do whatever I need to do on the computer.
Spin your legs out.
And half an hour to an hour.
Really probably helps your recovery.
At least 5 days a week. Yes.
Nice. So you said earlier, competition is, you said more of a curse, but kind of a blessing and a curse, I guess. Explain that.
Well, I always have been very injury prone, and that is to some extent my own fault. Genetics I can't do much about, but I have run several races knowing I had a stress fracture, and I have been put in a wheelchair to end of races because of that.
I remember one of those.
And I came back from 5K in Boston in a wheelchair a few years ago. And so I would say that I've pushed myself or what my body can take, and I've pushed beyond. But I don't regret it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'd be where I am now if I didn't. And I do everything not to be injured. I eat correctly and I take care of myself. And I do now take 1 day off a week. I didn't do that before.
So do you run 6 days a week?
Yes, I do.
How many miles a week would you say you run?
Usually at least 35. Sometimes I'll hit the low 40s.
I mean, that's manageable.
Yes.
What's your long day? How long?
My long day would be 10 miles, and it would not be every week. It could be once a month or maybe twice a month. And I do go to the track. I've been doing that pretty regularly for over a year, 1 day a week. I do feel that helps to keep my leg speed. And I really don't think it hurts me as far as injury. It's a good surface.
A very good surface, yes. Rubberized track for those that don't know. So what does the rest of your training look like? So a long day, track day, are the rest easy runs, or do you do a tempo run? Or
sometimes a tempo. If I'm running with my husband, who always has to be ahead of me, he is, faster, he's a man, then I can use that as a tempo day or threshold run.
Do you guys have almost the same schedule? Like he's probably going longer with the marathons.
Now he's doing longer. We do. We both run in the morning, but we don't, maybe once a week we actually run together, or me behind him.
Do you like running with people, or do you like running alone?
Well, this morning I ran with two friends. My friend Helen, who doesn't live here anymore.
Helen Cox?
Yes.
All right.
Was visiting, and Kelly Corey. I do enjoy running with them. I don't tend to run with groups because I feel like I need to run the pace I need to run. And because I am competitive, I would probably try to stay up with the men. If I am running in a group, and that's probably not too wise.
Or if you're running with people slower than you, you might feel compelled to run slower, and then you might think,
yes.
Yeah. Do you enjoy being in your own head when you run, or do you need entertainment when you run? Everybody's a little different.
Yeah, I do not need entertainment. I run early in the morning. If I don't run in the morning, it will not happen. I hate to run in the afternoon. Very rare that I
You don't
do
like
that.
the heat.
I don't like the heat, but even when it's cold, very cold, I'll still rather run in the morning.
Yeah. It's a different biorhythm,
Yeah,
I think.
I listen sometimes. You know, I don't really listen to music, to be honest. When I run, I do sometimes catch up on some podcasts, and I'm a bit of a news junkie, so I do listen to that sometimes when I run.
So any injuries you've had, I mean, it doesn't sound like you regret that. I mean, you said it's made you who you are, right? So what does that mean more like?
Well,
because I agree with you. I think it's okay to have aches and pains here and there and be overall healthy and fit and happy.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some serious injuries.
Yes.
I've had, this is going to shock some people, 12 stress fractures.
Where are they primarily? Where do you get them?
All of them were below the knee, which is not as serious, tibia,
Right.
fibula, metatarsals, until 2 years ago, and I fractured my femur.
Okay, that's a biggie.
That was a biggie. That took 6 months. That was non-weight bearing.
But you came back this year faster than last year.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I think because I started going to the track, because I really started concentrating more on just the 5K and then the miles, the road miles, which there aren't very many serious road miles. But I've done the Fifth Avenue, New York City road mile, which is the most competitive one in the country. And I was the national champion for USATF on their road mile a couple of years ago. So I seek them out. This year I'll probably go to Indianapolis for a road mile.
So what is your mile time when you do that?
My best mile time these past couple of years is a 6:15.
Oh, man. I thought you were going to say something slower. That is fast. That's awesome.
Yes.
So what's your 5K pace now? You're 7?
A little over 7, more like 7:15.
And that's, what are you running, like a 22-ish?
I try low 22s if the weather's conducive for me.
So for those listening, remember Kitty is 68. I mean, a low 22 is really fast. I mean, that's competitive worldwide, isn't it? From what you know? Like if you were to go, you'll know this weekend, I suppose. But...
Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Yeah. I was. I won my age group again with USATF in Atlanta 5K a couple years ago, with a low 22. There's some outliers there that maybe can still run in the 21s or even a 20 is a world record probably for my age. I'm usually in the top 90 percentile age graded in my running.
What would you say that you are most proud of out of all of your either triathlon or running PRs or races you've won? What one makes you go, you know what, that I'm most proud of?
I'd have to say Ironman 1981.
Okay.
Yeah, 89.
89, cool.
Yes.
I mean, I know that's
that
not
was
easy.
Amazing.
Yeah, I know that's not easy. I mean, that's really hard. It's, for those that don't know, the bike course is supposed to be brutally hot and windy, I guess.
Hot and windy.
Yeah, and you don't have fast times there. It's just not ideal for that.
No, and it's a long day of breathing hard. That's how I look at it. And yeah, I would say that. And
what about running? What's your best running memory or proudest moment?
I would say, again, similar to the Ironman situation where the first year I went in there scared to death and I had my best race. I went to Boston. It was my second ever marathon. I qualified in Jacksonville and they told me, I really didn't know anything about Boston. And they said, you qualified. And I kind of panicked. I thought that meant I had to go. And I went, does that mean I have to go? And they said, no, but you might want to because that might be your only chance. Well, I've run it 12 times since. But that first year, which I believe was 88, I ran a 3:06. And again, no chips, no electronic timing. And I remember at around 21 miles, I asked somebody alongside me, where's this Heartbreak Hill thing? He goes, honey, you've already passed it. Well, let me tell you, the next 12 times I did Boston, I knew where it was. But that year, somehow, it didn't faze me.
You're in the zone.
I was in the zone, so I was, it was a a great race and a great memory.
Do you mentally prepare as well? Like, not only are you very good about your training, I mean, running 6 days a week, you got to organize, planned. Do you also mentally prepare, like, homework or anything like that? Or
I don't do any real visualization or meditation or anything along those lines. I do prepare that I'll probably look to see what the times were in the previous years.
Or the course, maybe?
And the course.
Yeah.
And I watch the weather like a hawk. For me, weather is the deciding factor between a good and a bad race. I'm very adverse to humidity and heat.
Yeah, me too. So what about journal? Like, do you keep a training journal or do you just not?
Not anymore as far as written.
Yeah.
Back in the day, yes. Now, of course, it's all on my phone.
Right. So
it's
now
just
that you
my
have
times and, the race and the temperature. Nothing more than that, really.
Were you ever super OCD about it, like with a training journal, or, have to round up a mile, or, if you're at, 9.56, would you have to go to 10?
I probably still tend to do that sometimes.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yes. But no, not not that much, whatever it was. I, would just try to hit certain times and certain distances and see what my weeks were, week to week.
So last couple minutes here, what do you want to maybe state that I didn't ask? Like, what do you want to tell people about you or racing or running or whatever you want?
I tell people that ask me, I want to run, but it's so painful and so hard. And I say, you have to give it a chance. And I will say this, if you really don't have the body type, you are going to struggle.
It's harder, yeah.
But also, if you want to lose weight, there is no better way. It is a calorie burner. There is no question about it. And you should have decent shoes. That's really the only thing you have to think of as far as equipment and consistency. But if after you do this for a few weeks or a few months and you're just still really hate it, then you need to find something else that you will do on a regular basis. And that's the most important thing. I mean, for me, running, I can't see myself not running. I wake up in the morning at 5 going, can I go running yet? That's after running for 45 years.
Right, you love it.
I really do. And I think when I was younger, I learned how to suffer, and I embraced that to some degree. I studied ballet for many years.
Thank you for listening to today's program. I ask you to please follow the show wherever you get your podcasts, and please select automatic download because that really helps the show. Now I want to thank Overhead Door of Daytona Beach, the area's premier garage door company. They have the best product. They have the best service. I personally vouch for Jeff and Zach Hawk, the owners. They are great people with a great company. If you have any garage door needs, please give them a shout at 386-222-3165.
People say, oh, it's easy for you. It's like, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's
it
painful.
Might look easier. And then I look at elite runners and I think, oh, they look so smooth and fluid. It must be easy. No, it's not easy for them either.
No, the people winning the Boston Marathon, the pros, are in the 4s, right? High 4s, low 5s?
Yeah.
So it's
the
like,
women are in the low 5s, the men's are in the low 4s.
Right, so it's not easy. I mean, it hurts. They just make it look smooth, but they're suffering.
Yes.
Like you said, but in a way that's good, right? Because it kind of like pushes you a little bit, pushes your soul, your mind a little bit. That's why I like it. It's
yes, and we do have a saying, after a very hard effort, I did not die.
Right. Close.
And that's, yeah.
It felt close.
I wanted to, but I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of, as they say, do the hard things because it makes you, I don't know. In a way, I think it just makes you a better person because you can suffer. You did it. It sucked. But afterwards, you're glad you did it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kitty. I think that's a perfect point to leave off on. And I hope to do this again.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very
Enjoy it.
welcome.